Star Wars spin-offs. I think by now we're all familiar with them, and in the new millennium, we've seen a boatload. Clone Wars, Mandalorian, Ahsoka, The Bad Batch, Tales of the Jedi, Star Wars Visions, Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Fast forward!
Fast forwarding, sir!
Forces of Destiny, and last but not least, the Emmy Award-winning Jar Jar's Kitchen Nightmares.
The duck burned! Oops! You're cooking in a burnt pan, you fucking dick! Shut it!
Now, I have talked about Star Wars spin-offs before, and not to toot my own horn, but I have been unintentionally prophetic about them. Back in 2016, I did a review for the Bounty Hunter PS2 game, where I said this: Boba Fett, a Star Wars story, coming 2022.
Shut up and take my money!
And look what was streaming that year.
Nailed it!
And then, in a previous video I made about Star Wars spin-offs, I said that the project that I wanted to see most was an Obi-Wan Kenobi one. And 5 years later... So, yay, I got my Boba Fett show and my Obi-Wan Kenobi show, and both turned out to be amongst the lowest rated spin-off Star Wars has ever seen. And to make you hate me even more, when I heard that Cassian Andor was getting a spin-off, I was like, really? That guy? Come on, nobody wants to see that. Make something else.
Boo this man!
Let this be a lesson, Disney. Whatever I say, do the opposite. So yeah, perhaps Disney are giving into peer pressure a bit too much. Maybe fans like me are being too pushy. So tell you what, let's instead go back to a time where good old George was at the helm. Back in the 80s, he was the man in charge, and nobody was going to squander his vision. And in 1983, once Return of the Jedi hit theaters, George had a spin-off in mind. A brand new Star Wars duology. A couple of made-for-TV films that aired in 1984 and 1985 on American network ABC. Two films that, according to a poll I put out lately, many of you guys haven't seen, and some of you haven't even heard of them. Although the reason for that likely stems from the fact that these are films about Ewoks. Okay. I'm gonna keep an open mind. I mean, sure, the Ewoks are the most divisive addition to Episode 6, and sure, the last time Star Wars did a made-for-TV movie that heavily featured hairy anthropomorphic creatures, we ended up getting this. But you have to remember, the next Star Wars project after the holiday special was The Empire Strikes Back, so going from shit to gold is apparently within Lucasfilm's capabilities. So let's leave our preconceived notions at the door and look at these films as objectively as possible, starting with Caravan of Courage and Ewok Adventure. Never thought I'd see a Star Wars project with the word caravan in the title. Personally, I prefer what the Germans did by calling this movie. Okay. D is German for the, obviously. But remind me, how many Germans speak English nowadays? You know what you did. So what exactly is the plot of Die Ewoks? Well, it's pretty simple. A family of spacefarers have crash-landed on the same moon of Endor we're all familiar with. The parents get captured by a giant beast known as a Gorax, and the kids run into the Ewoks as they quickly befriend them and set out on an adventure to rescue mum and dad. So is this movie worth checking out? Well, it's for kids, and it is a bit drawn out and not that entertaining by modern standards. But I will say this, I don't think it's nearly as bad as some people make it out to be. Yeah, for me, it was kind of refreshing to see a live-action Star Wars movie I've never seen before, filmed and edited as a 1980s picture would. Everything that can be done practically is done practically. Shot out in beautiful forests and woodlands, excellent matte paintings, creature costumes as opposed to CGI, and there's even stop motion work in this, which admittedly is a little dated looking, but it has its charm. And I think from the perspective of kids who saw this back in 1984, I think they would have loved it. That being said, there are issues, like the acting is...
If we don't help them, they're gonna die.
Not the best. I mean, with the girl, I can look past her acting, cause she's 4 in this. Seriously, the actress was that young. And for a 4-year-old, I think she's actually pretty incredible, all things considered. But the boy is about 10 years older, so I feel a little more comfortable talking about his acting chops. So how is he?
We just thought we weren't gonna ever see you guys again.
Okay, I think he might actually be worse.
Uh-huh.
Man, his line delivery is strange, his timing is off, he's expected to turn on the waterworks in some parts and he just can't do it.
You're gonna need your legs. I won't take it.
Cut! This isn't working. Bring in the onions. And it doesn't help how his character is, kind of a dick. First off, he has serious anger management issues.
Your hands over now! That's it, muttface!
Dude, you're yelling at Care Bears. Calm down.
Where is it? Better watch out, you nearly killed us! Horses we need to go after!
Oh, and to add to this, the Ewoks actually go out of their way to save his sister's life by getting her medicine. And literally in the very next scene, what does he say?
Stay here with these walking hairbrushes. Come on, Cinto, they're animals.
And I hope the Ewoks cook you up in a roaring fire, you orange mophead cock.
What an asshole!
Now, I'm theorizing here, but it would appear that the casting director hired this kid not based on his acting ability, more his resemblance to Mark Hamill. Yeah, I'm not the only one who sees this, right? He's like Luke Jr. Same haircut, same outfit. Some of his dialogue is even similar.
Hey, you're wasting time.
We're wasting our time.
Oh, but the names of these characters are kind of interesting. The girl is called Sindel.
Mommy and Daddy are alive.
Too bad you will die.
And the boy's name? Mace.
No, Mace, no.
Yeah, this kid beat you to the punch there, Sam.
Who the is this asshole?
Though speaking of swearing like a motherfucker, I'm convinced the Ewoks curse in this. Yeah, Feech sure sounds like an F-bomb to me.
No, my fucking ears.
Now, once I got to the halfway mark in this movie, I came to an early conclusion. In that, if you took away the Ewoks, nothing in this film would tell you it's a Star Wars product. Actually, you know what? I'd go a step further. Outside of the ship they crash land, and maybe Mace's blaster, nothing would tell you it's sci-fi. In fact, this movie is just straight up fantasy. From the setting, to the soundtrack, to the many borrowed tropes of the genre. To start, there's the titular Caravan of Courage, which is a group of Ewoks that accompany and protect our young heroes on a journey across the land. Am I watching Star Wars or Fellowship of the fucking Ewoks? Can't believe I'm watching Star Wars here. What do you think, Charlie?
Yeah, I don't know. I'd call it sci-fi / fantasy.
You've also got other common fantasy tropes, but none are really explained or integrated into the world very well. Like, there's this thing they do where all the members of the caravan get given an item, and all these items have completely unexplained prophecies connected to them. Now, Mace gets a rock. Just a boring old rock.
It's just a plain old stupid rock.
I know it's a rock!
And so, he discards it thinking it's useless. But then the time comes for him to get the rock out, as it apparently will help him get into the keep his parents are held. And, well, he left it behind. Oh shit. So I guess Mace will have to learn a lesson. And maybe make up for it by using his ingenuity to find another way into the keep.
Look, these took.
The rock. You picked it up. You saved it for me.
Or turns out Wicket had been holding on to it for safekeeping all this time. Yeah, what was the point of that scene?
I don't know.
And you'll be asking that very question throughout this film. There's just so much pointless stuff that happens that continuously grinds the bare-bone plot to a halt. And it makes sense why the movie is like this, as it was originally intended as only a half-hour special, but the network wasn't interested in anything that wasn't feature-length, so they decided to artificially inflate the runtime. And this results in the film's structure becoming a bit repetitive. They walk, something random happens. They walk, something random happens.
Furry. Kush? Furry.
Why are they talking about furries and kush? Then they walk and guess what? Something random happens.
I spit Robin's arrow in twain!
But sometimes they walk and something very random happens. Yeah, you see what I mean? How this is more fantasy than it is Star Wars? I mean, immediately, I'm reminded of the Dead Marshes here. But with the Dead Marshes, at least Gollum sets them up a bit and explains why they're so deadly.
Careful now. Hobbits go down to join the dead ones.
But here, there's no explanation. The water on the moon of Endor apparently just wants you dead. Thank God Luke and everyone didn't fancy a dip.
I'm beginning to agree with you.
Oh, and quick tip, guys, if you're gonna have one of your characters disappear, you might also want to remove their reflection while you're at it.
Oops.
And the other scenes can be just as random. Sorry, I'm gonna be using that word a lot. Random. Like there's this scene where Mace has to do some sort of magic test. He holds a crystal in his palm and...
What the?
Oh, yeah.
Don't follow.
And then Sindel holds up the lizard and she makes it turn into a mouse? Okay. So what does that mean? Look, I swear to you, they go nowhere with this. What are you trying to convey here? Are you saying that lizards are bad and mice are good? Or that this is supposed to be a representation of their character? Like Mace is a... scaly character? Where are you going with this? I don't get it.
I don't understand.
Oh, and yeah, this goes without saying. Since when does the Star Wars universe have Earth animals? They're all over the place here. Rabbits, horses, goats, chickens, ferrets, demon llama.
Demon llama? Where? Ah!
Oh, and then there's this scene. Tink, what are you doing in Star Wars? Yeah, this scene continues the theme of randomness. And seriously, only someone high off their ass could possibly hope to describe the following course of events. Alright, sure. A whole bunch of Tinkerbells show up, right? Sindel then pops down a candle she got earlier. The Tinkerbells all go into the candle, and then Mish finds a Tinkerbell on its own and decides to adopt it and calls it Ezerina.
Right.
It's so random. You don't know the...
Why?
You don't know the...
Where?
You don't know the...
What?
You don't know the... Oh! Stuff in this movie just happens. Like, what this reminds me of is a rule that Matt Stone and Trey Parker use when they write South Park.
What should happen between every beat that you've written down is either the word therefore or but. It should be this happens, and therefore this happens. But this happens, therefore this happens. If the words and then belong between those beats, you're f***ed.
Caravan of Courage is 100% guilty of the and then form of storytelling. There's just no cause and effect here. Like, take Lord of the Rings, another fantasy film where they go on an adventure and you can totally describe the plot of that with words like therefore and but. They set off from Rivendell, but Saruman is watching the road to the south. Therefore, they try to pass over the mountain, but Saruman blocks their way. Therefore, they go through Moria, but they lose Gandalf in the process. This is good storytelling. But with Caravan of Courage, they set off to save Mum and Dad, and then another Ewok joins them, and then another Ewok joins them, and then Mace gets trapped underwater, and then a horse gets spooked with Sindel still inside, and then they meet a bunch of Tinkerbells. It's not good. And to top it off, we then get the most ridiculously whimsical, cheesiest scene you'll ever see in your life. Suddenly, George Lucas wanting to sell Star Wars to Disney makes a whole lot more sense now. Oh, but prepare yourself for this ensuing dialogue.
I think she eats giggles.
I think she eats giggles. That is the worst piece of dialogue that has ever been uttered in the history of Star Wars.
Are you an angel?
No, giggles is worse.
Love won't save you, Padme. Only my new powers can do that.
No, I have found a new winner.
That's how we're gonna win. Not fighting what we hate. Saving what we love.
Okay, I think She Eats Giggles is the second worst piece of Star Wars dialogue ever.
Terrible.
But what about the Ewoks themselves?
Well, they're fine.
But the suits aren't up to snuff here. I mean, sometimes they look okay, but many of the masks don't move. I mean, some do, but most can't blink or emote or even move their mouths. It's a little off-putting.
I mean, how would you like it if I delivered this review without ever blinking, smiling, or emoting whatsoever? Come play with us, Danny.
Mercifully, however, Lucasfilm learned their mistake with the Wookiees in the holiday special, as here we actually get given narration from Bill Ives of all people to clue us in. Yeah, the guy who narrated that Rudolph cartoon from the 60s, he steps in and goes all David Attenborough on us.
In an Ewok village on the moon of Endor, Deej tries to summon two of his sons who went into the woods and have not returned.
And here we see the unassuming Ewoks frolicking around while the viewer is mercifully unaware that the poor actors inside the suits are roasting their bollocks off.
Look, despite my numerous ramblings, Caravan of Courage is actually alright.
I definitely have made it out worse than it is. It's an inoffensive good time for the kids, and it's got that Labyrinth Willow vibe that I kinda gelled with. I couldn't help but admire the 80s-ness of it. Some honestly will find this movie a bit dull, but there's worse ways to spend 90 minutes. If you shut your brain off, it's fine.
So how about the sequel?
Yeah, I can't get over how a movie about Han Solo didn't get a sequel, but the one about the fucking Ewoks did.
Hey, I don't get it.
And we only had to wait 1 year for it, because in 1985, ABC aired Ewoks, The Battle for Endor.
And let me set the scene here.
Mace and Sindel have just saved their parents. They're partying with the Ewoks. Their day is saved, happily ever after. And within the first 10 minutes of the sequel, a group of marauders attack the Ewok village, all the Ewoks are taken captive, the mother is killed, the father is killed, Mace is killed, with only poor little Sindel the lone survivor of her family.
Jesus! I was not expecting that!
I mean, we went from
I think she eats giggles
to the whole family of a sweet innocent 5-year-old girl are all dead.
Holy shit, that is dark!
And boy, that sure shits all over the first movie a bit though, doesn't it? For them to spend an entire hour-and-a-half film saving their parents, only for them and their son to die in the first 10 minutes in the next movie.
Sorry, I know I'm dwelling on this, but this is shocking.
It'd be like a sequel to Terminator 2 where John Connor died in the first 10 minutes.
I mean, that would be really stupid.
And look, I was thinking they were tricking us. Mace, for instance, dies off screen, so I was thinking he was going to make a surprise comeback at the end. But no, they're dead. They're all very permanently dead. And I actually respect that decision. Modern Star Wars, take note.
Okay, well, what happens next then? Because you've at least intrigued me, movie.
Okay, so here's what goes down. Poor Sindel escapes captivity with Wicket. By the way, Wicket is still played by Warwick Davis, and he speaks a basic level of English now.
Cinder live, Wicket live. Must have hope. Must escape.
Yeah, an 80s film that stars a small child that forms a relationship with an alien creature. I wonder who George got this idea from. Anyway, the two make a run for it and quickly come across this weird monkey-like creature who for some reason has the power of Roadrunner.
Beep beep. 'Cause why the f not?
Also, am I the only one who's seeing a resemblance here? I might be going crazy, but to me, he looks a bit like Rob Brydon. I'm sure he would be flattered to know a Star Wars character was modeled after him. Oh, and if you haven't seen this movie, you'll never guess in a month of Sundays who this monkey thing lives with.
Wilford f***ing Brimley. In Star Wars. Right, this is the greatest film ever made.
Pete, stay out of those pies and save some for tomorrow.
Huh, I guess that would explain the diabetes.
I've eaten apple pie, and I've done things I shouldn't do.
So, Sindel goes on to live with a monkey, an Ewok, and Wilford Brimley.
Did I just say that out loud?
As one day, Sindel gets lured by one of the villains disguising themselves as someone else while they call out her name.
Mommy?
Wow, turns out that scene in Spaceballs was spoofing an actual Star Wars scene. For you!
So, Divatox's less talented cousin here takes her hostage, as it's up to the rest of our heroes to rescue her. But we ain't got a Jedi, we ain't got a Mandalorian.
All we got is Wilford motherfucking Brimley.
He's an easy guy to like. And a hard man to kill. Die hard.
Okay, so how is Battle for Endor?
Well, it's an honest-to-God improvement.
Yeah, it's a much better film, and I'd go as far as to say,
I think this film's a little underappreciated.
yeah, I mean, it's not a classic or an absolute must-watch or anything. It's not up there with the 80s fantasy greats, but I'm glad I checked it out.
First off, I like the cast.
Wilford Brimley is quite likeable, starting off as a bit of a grumpy curmudgeon, but he takes a warming to Sindel as he becomes a father-like figure to her. It's basic, but nice character development, which the first film completely lacked.
And if you remember all the things he said to you, and if you remember how much he loved you, then he'll never be gone.
You know, Wilford Brimley would have made a great Santa Claus.
Like, this screams Santa to me.
It's really quite wholesome.
My star keeps me company.
Okay, maybe this is now getting a bit too wholesome.
Stop singing!
Also, these following moments are probably coincidental, but this movie reminded me of a lot of things that hadn't yet come out. From this bit, to this scene where Sindel and Wicket follow Brimley, which reminded me of a level from Spyro 2.
I'm not leaving unless you hide behind that tree so you can't see me. What? You managed to get here without following me? You must be a member of my secret club after all!
And then there's the major villain, whose species is kinda like a cross between Planet of the Apes and Uruk-hai.
Find me that child! Find me that child! On the halflings! On the halflings!
Though, yeah, whenever this character is on screen, my heart went out to the poor actor underneath. Sounds like he's getting suffocated underneath that thing.
Are you not got enough the power?
Yeah, that mask is not working. It's just got no articulation in the mouth.
You can make him say anything.
I'm a stupid moron with an ugly face and a big butt, and my butt smells, and I like to kiss my own butt.
And in terms of other things I didn't like, I would call out something I don't think they could have done anything about, and that's the lack of emotional weight in Sindel's family all dying.
Mommy, Mace, they're dead.
Yeah, you see what I mean?
The amount of trauma that this would realistically put on someone is far beyond a 5-year-old actor's ability to convey. Apparently, George Lucas wanted to go down the route of making Sindel an orphan after he watched a film called Heidi with his daughter Amanda, which is also about an orphan moving in with a hermit-like character. So it was decided to make Sindel an orphan, and the young Amanda Lucas also inspired this decision as she took a liking to her in the first film. And so the then 5-year-old Aubrey Miller got a lead role in a feature-length movie.
That has to be a record, right?
I don't recall any other film having a lead that young.
Let me know in the comments if I'm missing someone.
And cause of this, I have to say, I think she does a damn good job. Sure, her acting is a little hit and miss in the first film, but in this sequel, I think she's improved. Plus, she's super adorable, and cause of the sheer hell her character goes through, you can't help but root for her.
So how does Battle for Endor end?
Well, they manage to break Sindel and the Ewoks at a prison, as the Ewoks then take on the Marauders while Brimley powers up his ship. It's a fun sequence, quite reminiscent of Return of the Jedi's battle scenes. We get Ewok traps, we get Rob Brydon Monkey acting like Sonic the Hedgehog, we get Wilford Brimley beating up an orc with a stick.
How can you not enjoy this?
Now, yeah, I didn't really understand how the villain was defeated in the end. A magical ring somehow turns him to stone. I don't know. By this point in my viewing, I was too drunk to care.
But still, I was pleasantly surprised by Battle for Endor.
It fixes nearly all of the issues that plagued the first film, with the major one being the pacing, because unlike Caravan of Courage, you can actually describe the plot here with words like therefore and but. Sindel makes a run for it, but she gets captured. Therefore, the Ewoks devise a plan to allow them to escape. But they're hungry and tired. Therefore, they seek refuge at Brimley's house. But Brimley isn't happy with them being there. Therefore, they get kicked out. But Brimley has a change of heart, and so on. It's much better writing.
Also, it's kind of interesting to view Battle for Endor from a modern viewpoint.
Like, Carol here is confirmed to be a Night Sister from Dathomir, making Battle for Endor the very first time we see one. Also, in Legends, Sindel grows up to become a journalist working on Coruscant.
Is it weird that I want to see a show about that now?
You know, a series similar in the vein to something like Tokyo Vice, but it's in the Star Wars universe? That sounds fascinating to me. Like with the Empire in power and a journalist gets a scoop on a story that exposes their wrongdoings. A journalist character showing up in later seasons of Endor could be cool, where they'd expose the Empire's wrongdoings to drum up more support for the rebellion, and make that character an adult Sindel. That'd be cool. Hell, Aubrey Miller, I found out, is apparently now working as an intern at a local television news station.
She's basically a journalist in real life. What are the odds?
Get Miller back, Disney. I want to see what Sindel's up to. I mean, it's a testament to how surprisingly decent this film is that I'm beyond curious as to where its main character ended up. Good on you, Battle for Endor.
Okay, that's it for today. Thanks everyone for watching. If you're new, consider checking out my most recent retrospective right here. In it, I took a look at foreign Ghostbusters knockoffs. Also, there's my Patreon. Much love to everyone who supports me over there. Links in the description if you want to join too. Thanks everyone for watching. See you in the next one.